On August 27, 2019, in the flat, empty expanse of the Alvord Desert in Oregon, Jessi Combs was strapped into the cockpit of a 52,000 horsepower jet-powered car. The 39-year-old professional racer and television personality, known as the fastest woman on four wheels, was attempting to break the women's land speed record.
All of these emotions, this is crazy sauce.
Her goal was to exceed 512 miles per hour. On her final run of the day, she pushed the machine to its absolute limit, accelerating across the desert floor at a speed that was almost too fast to comprehend. Suddenly, at a velocity approaching 550 miles per hour, the front wheel assembly of the car collapsed. The mechanical failure was instantaneous and catastrophic. The vehicle, no longer stable, veered violently and disintegrated as it tore across the desert. Combs was killed instantly. The official cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head, which occurred before the wreckage was engulfed in flames. She had been traveling at a speed where even the slightest error or failure meant certain death, a risk she had accepted in her quest to become the fastest woman in history. She was posthumously awarded the record, having reached a top speed of 522.783 miles per hour.
Trying to do something that few people in the world would even attempt to for those reasons.
Yeah, it's definitely scary.
Yeah.
But it doesn't slow me down.
No, clearly it does not. It does not.
On June 10, 2016, Christina Grimmie, a 22-year-old singer and former contestant on The Voice, had just finished performing a concert at the Plaza Live in Orlando, Florida. After the show, she stayed to meet fans, signing autographs and greeting people with the warmth and openness she was known for. Around 10:30 p.m., a white male approached her in the crowd. His name was Kevin James Loibl, a 27-year-old man who had traveled from St. Petersburg with the specific intention of killing her. She did not know him. As Christina greeted him with open arms, Loibl pulled out a gun and opened fire at point-blank range. He shot her once in the head and twice in the chest. The shots echoed through the venue as fans scattered in panic.
Pop, 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 pop. I was traumatized. I didn't know what was going on.
I was in shock. I didn't know what to do.
Grimmie's brother, Marcus, who was standing nearby, immediately tackled the gunman. In the struggle, Loibl turned the gun on himself and fired, killing himself instantly. Marcus's actions likely prevented further deaths, as the gunman was carrying additional ammunition and a hunting knife. Christina was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Despite efforts to save her, she was declared dead just before 11 p.m. local time, less than 30 minutes after being shot. The autopsy confirmed the cause of death as gunshot wounds to the head and chest, and her death was ruled a homicide. In the early morning hours of June 20th, 2011, Ryan Dunn left a bar in West Goshen Township, Pennsylvania, after a night of heavy drinking. The 34-year-old jackass star, known for performing dangerous stunts on camera, climbed behind the wheel of his 2007 Porsche 911 GT3 with his friend Zachary Hartwell, a 30-year-old production assistant and former Navy veteran, in the passenger seat. Dunn's blood alcohol content was later measured at 0.196%, more than twice the legal limit of 0.08% in Pennsylvania. Around 3:30 a.m., he accelerated down Route 322 at a reckless speed. Investigators later determined the Porsche was traveling between 130 and 140 miles per hour when Dunn lost control. The car flew off the road, tore through a guardrail, and slammed violently into a tree. The force of the collision ripped the vehicle apart, scattering debris across the wooded area. Almost immediately, the wreckage ignited. Flames consumed what remained of the Porsche, turning it into a twisted, burning shell. Both men were trapped inside. When emergency crews arrived, the fire was still raging, the heat so intense they couldn't approach. By the time the flames were extinguished, both Dunn and Hartwell were dead. The coroner's report listed the cause of death as blunt and thermal trauma due to a motor vehicle accident. The autopsy confirmed that both men had suffered severe injuries from the impact, but also sustained burns, indicating they were alive when the fire started. On March 31st, 2013, Shain Gandee, a 21-year-old reality star from MTV's Buck Wild, went out for a night of mudding in his 1984 Ford Bronco near his home in Sissonville, West Virginia. With him were his 48-year-old uncle, David Gandee, and a friend, 27-year-old Donald Robert Myers.
Hello.
The activity, a popular pastime in the region, involved driving off-road through deep mud pits for sport. It was a core part of Gandee's on-screen persona, a man who lived for the thrill of the backwoods. Sometime during the night, Gandee drove his Bronco into a particularly deep mud hole. The heavy vehicle sank, its wheels spinning uselessly as it became hopelessly stuck. The mud was so deep that it completely submerged the truck's tailpipe, blocking the exhaust from escaping. Inside the cab, with the engine still running, the three men were unaware that the enclosed space was slowly filling with a colorless, odorless gas, carbon monoxide. They never got out of the truck. As the toxic fumes replaced the oxygen in the vehicle, they would have grown dizzy and confused before losing consciousness. They were found the next day, all three of them dead inside the Bronco, still stuck in the mud. On June 24, 2014, Caleb Bankston, a 27-year-old train conductor and former contestant on Survivor Blood vs. Water, was working at the Alabama Warrior Railway in Birmingham. It was midday, and Bankston was standing on a small ladder at the rear of the last hopper car as he and an engineer backed up a loaded train consisting of 2 engines and 5 hopper cars. He was in constant communication with the engineer via two-way radio, guiding the train as it moved backward toward a set of empty cars. What neither man realized was that the hopper car Bankston was standing on had derailed. The train continued moving, unaware of the problem. Suddenly, the derailed car shifted violently beneath him. Bankston was thrown sideways into the steel wall of an empty car with tremendous force, then fell to the ground between the parallel tracks. The massive weight of the train cars bore down on him, crushing his body between the metal and the rails. Birmingham Fire and Rescue arrived at the scene and pronounced him dead. The accident occurred between 11:15 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Bankston, who had been engaged to his Survivor co-star Colton Cumbie and was planning a wedding for that October, died doing the job he had worked for years. The railway ordered a safety stand down before workers could return. On July 22, 2023, Jackson Taylor, a 33-year-old cowboy and contestant on the reality show Ultimate Cowboy Showdown, was competing in a ranch rodeo in Moriarty, New Mexico. Taylor, a seasoned horseman and bronc rider, was doing what he loved most. During a bronc riding event, he was thrown from the horse. The fall was awkward and violent, and he sustained critical injuries. Though the exact details of the fall are not widely publicized, the outcome was devastating. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, but the damage was too severe. Jackson Taylor died from the injuries he sustained in the accident. He was a man who had built his life and career around the dangerous and demanding world of rodeo, a sport where the risk of serious injury is always present.